something fascinating is happening right now. Women are posting videos asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" while men are in their apartments, perfectly content, playing video games and cooking steak. Women thought men couldn't survive without them. That loneliness would drive men back, that the need for companionship would override self-respect. But they miscalculated. Badly. Men aren't just surviving alone, they're thriving. And women are panicking because they never saw this coming. Let me tell you about a client, successful engineer, 38 years old, divorced 3 years ago after his ex spent a decade criticizing everything he did, how he loaded the dishwasher wrong, how he breathed too loud, how his hobbies were stupid. Now, he lives alone, has his hobbies back, sleeps peacefully. His blood pressure dropped 20 points. His hair grew back. He looks 10 years younger. When I asked if he's dating, he laughed. Why would I sign up for criticism again? This exhaustion from constant criticism is what broke the camel's back for millions of men. You come home from a 10-hour workday, and before you can take your shoes off, you're being lectured about leaving a cup in the sink. You sit down for 5 minutes and you're lazy. You play a video game and you're immature. You work overtime and you're never present. Every action gets criticized from some angle. Eventually, men realize the game is rigged. Here's what's really happening. Some partners express frustration in ways completely disconnected from reality. She's screaming about a sock on the floor, but it's not about the sock. It's about her internal unhappiness that has nothing to do with you. But you become the punching bag for her existential crisis. She's not mad at you, she's mad at life, and you're the safest target. The pattern is predictable. She starts a fight about something trivial. You bought the wrong brand of milk. This escalates into how you never listen, which becomes about how you don't care, which morphs into you ruining her life. 30 minutes later, you're apologizing for existing while trying to figure out how milk turned into divorce threats. This isn't communication, it's emotional terrorism. What makes this tragic is that men often stay loyal even when they're miserable. We're problem solvers by nature. Relationship not working, we'll try harder. Partner unhappy, we'll do more. Getting criticized constantly, we must be doing something wrong. Men will spend years, sometimes decades, trying to fix an unfixable situation because we're wired to persist, to provide solutions, to stay committed. I see guys who've been in emotional prison for 20 years. Their friends gone because she didn't like them. Their hobbies abandoned because she complained. Their families distant because she caused drama. They've sacrificed everything to keep peace. And what do they get? More criticism, less sex, zero appreciation. They're shells of their former selves, existing rather than living. This pattern of resentment pushes men to a breaking point. One day, something clicks. Maybe it's another fight about nothing. Maybe it's watching a divorced friend actually smile again. Maybe it's realizing you haven't been happy in years. Suddenly, solitude doesn't look like loneliness. It looks like freedom. No more walking on eggshells. No more constant criticism. No more being someone's emotional punching bag. The expectation that men should solve their partner's emotional struggles is insane. She's unhappy with her career. Somehow your fault. She's gained weight. You don't make her feel beautiful enough. Her friends are drama. You should fix it. Her family is toxic. You need to manage it. When did men become responsible for another adult's entire emotional ecosystem? Here's the brutal truth. Happiness must come from within, not from a partner. If someone is chronically unhappy, no amount of flowers, vacations, or romantic gestures will fix it. You could be the perfect partner, and they'd still find reasons to be miserable. Because the problem isn't you, it's their internal wiring. But they'll never admit that. It's easier to blame you than face their own issues. Many people approach relationships from a place of unresolved personal wounds. They're not looking for a partner. They're looking for a therapist, parent, and validation machine rolled into one. They expect you to heal traumas you didn't cause, fill voids you didn't create, fix problems that existed before you met. It's not a relationship. It's an unpaid internship in psychiatric care. Men get warned against taking on projects, but nobody explains what that looks like. It's the person who needs constant reassurance, who melts down over minor issues, who has drama with everyone in their life, who can't maintain friendships, who always plays victim. When someone shows you they can't handle their own life, believe them. You're not going to be the exception who fixes them. The perfectionist expectations are soul-crushing. Everything has to be Instagram perfect. The house, the dates, the gifts, your body, your career, She's comparing your real life to everyone else's highlight reel and finding you lacking. That couple's vacation photos, she doesn't see their debt. Her friend's romantic husband, she doesn't know he's cheating. But you're failing because you're not meeting these fantasies. The mental scorecards guarantee failure. She remembers every mistake you've made since day one. That time you forgot an anniversary 3 years ago, still counting against you. But ask her to acknowledge the 1,000 things you did right. Amnesia. You could cure cancer, but she'd complain you didn't cure it faster. The game is rigged, so you're always in deficit. This creates a dynamic where men feel they cannot win. Do housework. You did it wrong. Don't do housework. You're lazy. Buy flowers. You're only doing it because you're guilty. Don't buy flowers. You don't care. Have male friends. You're choosing them over her. Don't have friends. You're too needy. Every choice leads to criticism from a different angle. The idealization of unattainable outcomes causes unnecessary conflict. She wants you to be successful but always available. Rich but not work-focused. Masculine but emotionally soft. Leader but also equal partner. Aggressive in bed but gentle everywhere else. These contradictions are impossible to navigate. You're not failing to meet standards. The standards are designed to be unmeetable. This is why modern dating pushes men towards solitude. After years of being treated like you're never enough, being alone feels like relief. No more impossible standards, no more constant criticism, no more emotional chaos, just peace. Beautiful, quiet, drama-free peace. Your time is yours, your money is yours, your energy is yours, your life is yours. Men now prioritize mental calmness over partnership, and this shift is revolutionary. We're choosing video games over arguments, gym over couples therapy, hobbies over honey-do lists, peace over pussy. Because we've learned that bad companionship is worse than no companionship, that toxic relationships age you faster than loneliness ever could. Women are noticing men withdrawing, and they're confused. Why aren't men approaching? Where are all the men on dating apps? Why don't men want to commit? They can't fathom that men are choosing solitude, that we've done the cost-benefit analysis and relationships came up short, that we're not broken or scared, we're just done playing a rigged game. Men focus on work, family, hobbies, and personal space now. We're building careers without someone spending the profits, pursuing interests without someone calling them stupid, maintaining friendships without someone getting jealous, seeing family without someone causing drama. For the first time in history, average men can build fulfilling lives without romantic relationships. Social media affects romantic expectations catastrophically. Everyone's watching relationship highlights and thinking that's normal. She sees some influencer's boyfriend renting out a stadium for a proposal and wonders why you only took her to a nice restaurant. The comparison game is unwinnable. Real relationships can't compete with curated fantasy. Average men feel particularly squeezed. They're expected to provide like traditional men while accepting modern feminist dynamics. Pay for everything but don't expect anything. Be protective but not possessive. Lead but also follow. Meanwhile, they're competing against every man on dating apps, including ones way out of their league messaging their girlfriend. The hypergamy reality is brutal. Studies show women rate 80% of men as below average attractiveness. How is that mathematically possible? But they all want the same top 20% of men. These men have unlimited options, so they don't commit. Women would rather share a high-value man than commit to an average one. Then they complain about fuckboys while ignoring good men. Women prefer attractive, unreliable men over average, reliable ones. Then wonder why they get played. They'll wait 3 hours for a text from the hot guy who's juggling 5 women while ignoring the decent guy who'd treat them well. Then at 35, when the hot guys stop calling, suddenly they want a real man, meaning the average guys they ignored for 15 years. Men backed away because they were told to leave women alone for decades. Don't approach women at the gym. Don't talk to women at work. Don't bother women in public. Respect our space. Okay, we listened. We stopped approaching. We left you alone. Mission accomplished. But now you're upset that we actually did what you asked. Women now complain that men no longer initiate, but this is exactly what they demanded. You can't spend 20 years telling men their attention is unwanted, creepy and problematic, then wonder why they stopped giving it. Men are literal creatures. You said leave you alone, so we did. The fact that you meant leave us alone except for the hot guys wasn't our problem to decode. Attractive men are seen differently when approaching. Same behaviour, different reaction based on looks. Hot guy slides into DMs. Romantic. Average guy does it. Creepy. Hot guy approaches at gym. Confident. Average guy. Harassment. The rules aren't about behaviour, they're about attraction. Average men learned this lesson and adjusted accordingly, by not participating. Some consume social media advice that encourages isolation and negativity. These influencers telling women to never settle, always demand more, treat men as disposable. If he wanted to, he would. Know your worth, queen. Men are trash. This toxic content creates armies of bitter, single women who think relationship dysfunction is empowerment. Emotionally reactive communication destroys everything. Screaming, crying, throwing things. This isn't communication, it's abuse. But when women do it, it's called expressing feelings. A man raises his voice once, he's dangerous. She throws plates, she's passionate. This double standard teaches men that their emotions don't matter, only hers do. Some partners assume men act from malice rather than misunderstanding. Forgot to text back? You don't care? Didn't notice her haircut? You're not attracted anymore? Working late? Must be cheating. Every innocent action gets interpreted through the worst possible lens. Men get tired of being treated like villains in their own relationships. The modern dating environment frustrates everyone. Women can't find commitment from the men they want. Men can't get basic respect from women in their league. Everyone's comparing real partners to digital fantasies. Nobody's satisfied with what's actually available. The app's turned dating into shopping, and everyone thinks they deserve the premium model. Online comparison culture makes commitment impossible. Why commit to one person when there are thousands of options a swipe away? Why work through problems when you can just match with someone new? Why appreciate what you have when Instagram shows you what you're missing? The paradox of choice has destroyed relationship satisfaction. Women often misinterpret men's simple motivations. Men are straightforward creatures. We say what we mean. If we're quiet, we're thinking or tired, not plotting. If we're working late, we're working, not cheating. But women create elaborate narratives about hidden meanings that don't exist. Sometimes a sandwich is just a sandwich, not a statement about gender roles. Some partners prioritize being right over building harmony. They'd rather win the argument than save the relationship. Every discussion becomes a trial where they're the prosecutor, judge, and jury. Being technically correct becomes more important than being happy together. They win every battle while losing the war. Let me tell you about the nitpicking exhaustion that drives men insane. You're watching TV, relaxing after work, and suddenly you're under attack for how you're sitting. Your breathing is too loud. You're chewing wrong. Your laugh is annoying. Every natural human function becomes a source of criticism. You can't exist comfortably in your own home. You're constantly monitoring yourself, adjusting your behaviour, trying to avoid the next critique. I had a client whose ex criticised him for how he tied his shoes. Not joking. She had opinions about his shoelace technique. This is the level of control and criticism some men endure daily. Nothing is too small to become a battle. Nothing is too insignificant to escape judgment. You're not living with a partner. You're living with a perpetual performance reviewer who's never satisfied. The lose-lose scenarios are everywhere. She complains you never plan dates. You plan a date, she complains about your choice. You ask what she wants to do, she says you should know. You suggest options, she says you're not being decisive. You make a decision, she says you didn't consider her feelings. There's literally no path to success, only different flavours of failure. Here's what many don't understand about male loyalty psychology. Men are built to protect and provide for their tribe. When we commit fully. We'll endure incredible hardship for people we love. But this loyalty gets exploited. Partners know we won't leave easily, so they push boundaries. They test limits. They see how much disrespect we'll tolerate. Our greatest strength becomes our greatest vulnerability. The gradual erosion of self happens so slowly you don't notice. First, you stop seeing that friend she doesn't like. Then you quit that hobby that annoys her. You change your clothes to her preference. You stop listening to music she hates. 5 years later, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. You've been edited into someone else's vision of who you should be. The internal conflict tears men apart. Part of you knows this is wrong. Part of you wants to leave, but another part thinks you're overreacting. Maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe her criticism is helping you improve. Maybe this is just what relationships are. This internal war is exhausting, and many men stay stuck in it for decades. The revelation of life without criticism is transformative. One client told me he didn't realize how much anxiety he carried until it was gone. He'd been so used to being criticized that peace felt foreign. He kept waiting for someone to tell him he was doing something wrong. It took months to realize nobody was watching, nobody was judging, nobody cared how he loaded the dishwasher. The simple pleasures men rediscover alone are profound. Eating cereal for dinner without judgment, watching whatever you want on TV, leaving dishes in the sink overnight, playing video games without time limits. These aren't acts of laziness, they're acts of freedom. The freedom to exist without constant evaluation. The health improvements men experience post-relationship are documented. Lower blood pressure, better sleep, reduced anxiety, improved mood. Turns out living under constant criticism is literally killing us. The stress of never being good enough wreaks havoc on your body. Remove that stress and health improves dramatically. Here's the financial reality nobody discusses. Single men accumulate wealth faster than married men, not because they're selfish, but because they control their spending. No more buying things to prevent arguments. No more expensive trips to apologize for imaginary offenses. No more retail therapy for someone else's unhappiness. Your money actually stays in your account. The creative resurgence men experience alone is remarkable. All that energy you spent managing someone else's emotions goes back into your projects. Men start businesses, write books, create art, build things. The suppressed creativity comes flooding back when there's nobody there to call it stupid or wasteful. The friendship recovery is equally powerful. Those friends she didn't like, they're back. Those activities she thought were immature, you're doing them again. The social connections that got severed to keep peace, they're being rebuilt. Men rediscover that male friendship provides something romantic relationships often don't: unconditional acceptance. The dating market panic from women is intensifying because they're realizing men have options they didn't consider. We don't need traditional relationships for sex anymore. We don't need marriage for social validation. We don't need partners for emotional support. We have friends, therapy, communities. The monopoly on male needs has been broken. Young men are learning from our mistakes and adapting. They're not even trying traditional dating. They're going straight to focusing on themselves, building wealth in their 20s instead of chasing women, developing skills instead of developing relationships. They've seen what happened to their fathers and uncles and decided to skip that chapter entirely. The cultural shift is accelerating because it's based on rational observation, not ideology. Men aren't joining movements or following gurus. They're independently reaching the same conclusion. Modern relationships aren't worth it. This isn't coordinated, it's convergent evolution. Millions of men separately deciding the same thing based on the same evidence. The attempts to shame men back to the plantation are failing spectacularly. Man up doesn't work when manning up means accepting disrespect. Your missing out doesn't work when we've experienced what we're supposedly missing. You'll die alone doesn't work when alone is preferable to what's being offered. The old control mechanisms are broken. Here's the final message. Men must stop trying to make unhappy people happy. You cannot love someone into mental health. You cannot sacrifice your way into their satisfaction. You cannot work hard enough to fill their void. Some people are broken in ways you can't fix, and destroying yourself trying helps nobody. The solution is simple but not easy. Stop accepting disrespect. Stop tolerating constant criticism. Stop trying to meet impossible standards. Stop dating people who treat you like a rehabilitation center. Stop believing that suffering equals love. Stop sacrificing your peace for someone else's chaos. Set boundaries and enforce them ruthlessly. She starts a fight over nothing. Leave the room. She criticizes constantly. End the conversation. She treats you with contempt. End the relationship. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept. Stop accepting garbage treatment and watch how quickly things change. Men are discovering something powerful. Life alone isn't lonely when you like yourself. When you have interests, friends, purpose, and peace, you don't need a romantic relationship to feel complete. In fact, adding the wrong person makes life worse, not better. This isn't giving up on love, it's refusing to accept its toxic substitute. The panic from women is palpable. Articles about "where have all the good men gone?", social media posts about men being intimidated by strong women, dating coaches teaching women how to get him to commit. They're scrambling because they never thought men would walk away. They thought biological needs would keep us coming back. They were wrong. Men aren't broken. We're not scared of commitment. We're not intimidated by success. We're not avoiding responsibility. We've simply realized that modern relationships often subtract more than they add. That peace is more valuable than partnership. That being alone beats being with someone who makes you feel alone. The happiness gap is real and growing. Single men are getting happier. Single women are getting more miserable. Because men can find fulfillment in purpose, work, and hobbies. But many women were taught that relationships are their primary source of happiness. When men opt out, women lose their plan A, and many don't have a plan B. Young men are watching and learning. They see their fathers destroyed in divorce court, their brothers falsely accused, their friends constantly criticised, and they're making rational decisions. Why sign up for a bad deal? Why risk everything for someone who'll never be satisfied? Why play a game where the rules guarantee you lose? The cultural shift is undeniable. MGTOW, Red Pill, Passport Bros, different responses to the same realization. Modern relationships are broken. Men aren't trying to fix them anymore. We're not negotiating for better terms. We're walking away from the table, and that terrifies people who benefit from male participation. Women keep trying the same tactics that no longer work. Shaming doesn't work. We don't care about being called incels. Guilt doesn't work. We're not responsible for your happiness. Fear doesn't work. Being alone isn't scary when relationships are worse. The tools that controlled previous generations of men are useless now. The future is already here. Men focusing on themselves, building wealth, pursuing interests, maintaining friendships. Women wondering where all the good men went while surrounded by men they ignored. The dating market collapsing as both sides realize the juice isn't worth the squeeze. This isn't a phase, it's the new normal. Some women get it and adjust. They bring actual value beyond their presence. They treat men with respect. They appreciate rather than criticize. They add to life rather than subtract. These women have no trouble finding partners because they understand that relationships are about giving, not just taking. But most won't adjust. They'll keep demanding more while offering less. Keep criticizing while expecting praise. Keep taking while refusing to give. And they'll end up alone, bitter, wondering what went wrong. The answer is simple. Men figured out that no relationship is better than a bad relationship. The peace of solitude is addictive once you taste it. Wake up when you want. Do what you want. Spend your money how you want. No drama, no criticism, no impossible expectations. Just calm, quiet, peaceful existence. Once men experience this, going back to chaos feels insane. This isn't about hating women. It's about loving ourselves enough to refuse disrespect. It's about valuing our peace over their drama. It's about choosing mental health over toxic relationships. Men aren't avoiding women. We're avoiding what modern relationships have become. The men who are happiest alone aren't broken. They're healed. They've learned their worth isn't determined by female validation. Their happiness doesn't depend on relationship status. Their life has meaning beyond being someone's provider and emotional punching bag. They've found something better than modern relationships. Themselves. Women never thought this would happen. They thought men needed them too much. That loneliness would drive us back. That biology would override logic. But they underestimated male adaptability. We evolved to handle solitude, to find purpose in work, to bond through shared activities. We don't need relationships the way they do. The correction is coming. As more men check out, the dynamics will shift. Women will have to bring more to the table than expectations and criticism. Relationships will have to benefit both parties, not just one. The pendulum has swung too far and it's starting to swing back. But until then, men are discovering something beautiful. Life is actually pretty good when you're not constantly criticized. When you're not trying to meet impossible standards. When you're not being someone's project. When you're just living for yourself, pursuing your goals, enjoying your peace. The rise of happy single men isn't a tragedy. It's a rational response to irrational expectations. We're not missing out on relationships. We're avoiding their toxic modern form. We're not lonely. We're free. We're not broken. We're awake. And we're not coming back to the plantation. Women thought men would be miserable alone. They thought we'd come crawling back. They thought loneliness would break us. Instead, we're thriving, building businesses, pursuing passions, traveling the world, living our best lives. While they're making TikToks asking where we went, the answer is simple. We didn't go anywhere. We're right here, living peacefully, happily alone, We just stopped playing a game we couldn't win, stopped accepting treatment we didn't deserve, stopped believing that any relationship is better than no relationship, and discovered that solitude isn't loneliness when you actually like who you are. This is the reality women never saw coming. Men don't need relationships to be happy. We want them when they add value, but we don't need them for survival. And once we realized that bad relationships subtract value rather than add it, the choice became obvious. Why choose misery when solitude offers peace? The future belongs to those who choose wisely. Men who refuse to accept disrespect. Women who bring actual value. Relationships based on mutual benefit, not one-sided extraction. But until that happens, millions of men will continue choosing peace over partnership, solitude over suffering, happiness over her. I want to hear from you guys. Are you happier alone than you were in your last relationship? What made you choose solitude over modern dating? What's the biggest benefit of being single you've discovered? Drop your thoughts below. Let's normalize men choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over validation. Because you deserve better than what modern relationships are offering, and sometimes better means being alone.